Sparkly salutations! Today I want to talk about colors and their undertones, mostly in regards to eyeshadow and lipstick. Foundation matching and skin undertones are a lot more of a pain, and I don't feel qualified to talk about that. I feel relatively confident that I know my own undertone, but I don't think I could guide anyone else through finding their own, so I'll just leave that to people who know what they're talking about. My makeup look today is rather odd, and I promise I'll explain why that is later. There is a reason for it. And I'm also recording this with only the light from the window that's right there instead of my overhead light because that seems to make everything look more yellow. I guess that's also a light, but it's behind me. Like Robert Welsh says, makeup doesn't have rules, but it does have a theory. You can put whatever you want to on your face, but there are guidelines that can help you make things more flattering for you personally and harmonious when paired together. It's really useful to know about undertones so that you can choose things that will really stand out when you want them to, or look more natural if that's what you're going for. Understanding what undertones your products have and what you have will help you achieve the look that you want to. I don't want to spend too much time talking about the color wheel, which I'll put over here, because I think most people already know the general idea there. Traditionally, the warm colors are red, orange, and yellow, and the cool colors are green, blue, and purple. However, each of these colors can have warm and cool variants, so you can't just assume that all purples are going to be cool toned, because a lot of them aren't. For fun, I swatched a bunch of eyeshadows in rows and columns to demonstrate that. It was trickier than I thought it would be, and I don't think I have any orange eyeshadows that are just straight up neutral orange. They're all either slightly warm or slightly cool, so there's a blank spot there. I swatched warm shades on the left, neutrals in the middle, and cool tones on the right. If you want to get better at analyzing colors and figuring out things like their undertone, then there's an app called I Love Hue that will really help you practice. It forces you to look for differences between very similar colors and place them so that they go from being a scrambled mess of colors into a very nice gradient. It can help you sort of train yourself to think about colors with more detailed descriptions, and it's also just very satisfying and fun. People have undertones that range from very warm to neutral to very cool, or you may even have an olive undertone. Once you know what your undertone is, you can use that to figure out what kinds of colors will look the best on you. If your undertone is neutral, or a very subtle version of warm, cool, or olive, or what have you, then warm and cool tones may be equally flattering on your skin. It's important to note that having redness or pinkness in your face doesn't necessarily mean that you have cool undertones. You might just have a red face. That's how my husband is. His face just naturally is pretty red. That seems to be a genetic thing, and his undertones are more on the warm side. I'm not entirely sure what they are, but he's not a cool undertone. Makeup, and also clothes and nail polish that are the same undertones as your skin, will look more natural on you than if you wear something that has a different undertone from your skin. If a cool-toned person wears a bunch of cool-toned makeup, then it will look more right, I guess? It just seems like it fits better on them than if they wear warm tones. Because of that contrast, it seems more bold, and sometimes it can even look a little bit out of place. Speaking of contrast, that's another factor into figuring out what will be the most flattering on you. If the difference between the depth of your skin and hair colors isn't very strong, then that's low contrast, and a bold look will be even more bold on you because your general head area has the same amount of lightness or darkness going on. Picture Draco Malfoy wearing black lipstick for a fun mental image. Another example would be Princess Shuri when she had the white makeup dotted around her face. In both of those cases, the makeup is awesome, but not subtle. Like I said before, you don't need to choose colors that will be believable or natural looking on you. This is just something to consider if your goal is to have your makeup just kind of blend with your face and not look bold. If you want a dramatic, noticeable look that will draw attention, then amp up the contrast. If you have high contrast coloring, meaning dark skin with light hair or light skin with dark hair, then wearing a bold lipstick can make your lips stand out in a way that doesn't seem jarring. It won't be the only thing contrasting with your skin because your hair is already adding a different kind of depth in that area. Personally, I have cool undertones that I think are on the subtle side, and with my current hair color, I'm medium contrast. A really dark lipstick on me, as I am currently, will draw some attention, but it won't be the only thing that your eyes can focus on because my hair does provide a little bit of contrast with my skin. If I put on a wig with darker hair, then I would become high contrast, and then a really dark lipstick would seem surprisingly balanced. If you're low contrast and you want to wear a bold lipstick, but you don't want to feel like your lips are the only thing people will notice about your face, then I would recommend making sure that your eyes and cheeks are also visible enough to bring some balance. For example, to fix the situation I ended up in when I did my Dice Challenge video, I would have added even more blush and possibly used a darker color than I was using, and also added a healthy amount of mascara to my eyes. If the lipstick still seemed like too much, maybe I would have even gone for some black eyeliner. That way, my lips wouldn't be 8 times more dramatic than anything else happening. Also, fun tip, if you want to see the depth of something compared to something else, like two lip products for example, take a picture of those things next to each other and then make it black and white, and then you'll be able to see how dark they are compared to each other, even if the colors are super different. Eye color is generally a lot easier to determine than skin undertone is, so hopefully this part will be helpful even if some of the previous stuff wasn't. Some colors of eyeshadow or eyeliner can compete with your eye color instead of enhancing it. Other colors will really make your eyes pop and look intensely brown or blue or whatever they are. Blue eyes can wear blue eyeshadow or liner, but it might detract from the eye color instead of helping it stand out. The easiest way to put your eye color in the spotlight is to use a color of shadow or liner but sits across from it on the color wheel. Brown isn't really part of the standard color wheel, but you can think about what sort of brown your eyes are and try to emphasize that, or just use whatever color you want and see how awesome it looks. My eyes are sort of a bluey grayish color. When I wear blue or purple eyeshadows, my eye color seems more green than it does if there's no makeup there. Compared to a blue eyeshadow, my eyes do look greenish. This is the kind of thing you really notice when you play the I Love Hue game. I did one puzzle the other day that was just a whole bunch of variations of red, but by the end of it, some of the tiles looked almost brown and other ones looked very peachy. If you want to do a colorful, adventurous eye makeup look, but you aren't sure which colors you should use, then find inspiration somewhere. Look for colors that are already grouped together in a palette, or the colors that are used in a piece of artwork that you really like, or look to nature. There's all sorts of flowers, fish, birds, and frogs that have really cool color schemes. If you're totally stuck, you could look at a color wheel and choose just one of the colors that you would like to use, and then pick one or two of the colors that are next to it, or maybe even one that's directly across from it. Be careful when using opposites on the color wheel, because blending those together will just give you kind of a muddy mess. They neutralize each other, and that's why color correcting works. If you want to use opposite colors, then put one color in between them that they'll both blend with, or just place them in a way that they won't need to be blended, like doing a cut crease or having one of them be on your lower lash line and one of them on top. You've probably heard the advice to choose either eyes or lips to be bold, and that the other one should then be soft and more natural. That's totally fine to do, and is probably the safer plan if you're not super comfortable with makeup yet. When I was first starting to wear makeup more frequently, I once paired a blue eyeshadow look with cherry red lipstick for some reason. I don't have any pictures from that night, thankfully, but I probably looked like every stereotypical makeup-wearing cartoon character. Quick side note here, but why is it that when cartoon artists want to show that a character is wearing makeup, they seem to default to unblended powder blue eyeshadow and or bright red lipstick? Why? Anyway, pairing eye looks and lip colors can be difficult, especially if you're branching outside the neutral safety zone with one or both of them. It helps to stick to having your colors be either cool or warm and not a mixture of both. That just helps them seem more cohesive together. Depending on what look you're going for, you might want to have one be warm and one be cool for a more dramatic effect. What I usually do is decide what I'm putting on either my eyes or my lips, and then do that part of my makeup first, and then hold up a product or maybe a swatch on my hand to see if that will look good with what I've already done. You could also look online to see what other people have worn with the colors that you've chosen. When you're trying out something new and it looks weird, you need to see if it's actually unflattering or if you just think it looks funny because you aren't used to seeing yourself like that. If you're accustomed to always wearing soft, neutral makeup and you try out something as simple as just a red lipstick, your instinct might be to think, oh no, that looks wrong because it's new. I mentioned this in my first ever video, which I'm sure I would hate to go back and rewatch now. Everyone can wear a red lipstick, I promise. Maybe not everyone looks great in a fire engine red with warm undertones, or a vampy deep red with cool undertones, but there is a red for everybody. Have you guessed why my makeup is this strange way that it is yet? On the left half of my face, I used warm colors of eyeshadow and blush and highlighter and lipstick, and then on the right half of my face, I used cool tones. I tried to make the sides look as similar as I could depth-wise, so it would be more about the color undertones and not about like depth or intensity or whatever. Like, I wanted them to look as close as I could, which was kind of difficult, but I feel like I did okay at it. Because my natural undertones are on the cool side, the cool toned makeup has a more natural, flattering look, and this half, I mean, it doesn't look bad. The blush is a little questionable because I wanted to make sure it was visible on camera, so that's why it looks a little funny. So this half just looks not as nice, you know? For some practice, I put on a whole bunch of different lip colors and took pictures. Some of them are very flattering, and others noticeably clash with my skin. I'll explain each color as the picture is showing, so if you want to form your own opinion first, then pause the video while you analyze. Let me start by saying that I wasn't being super precise with my application or trying to get the pictures to be particularly attractive, so let's just focus on the colors, okay? This one is very warm and kind of a coral peach orange color. The depth is good, but the color does not suit me at all. This gloss is also a corally peachy orange kind of color, but it's more sheer and also has much less of a warm tone. It actually looks fine on me. I look a little dead here, don't I? This lipstick is a bit of a concealer lips sort of color on me. The undertone isn't defensive, but this makes my lips kind of fade into the rest of my face because it's lighter than my natural lip color is. This is the warm brownish gloss that I was wearing on the warm half of my face during this video. It looks alright, but the color is warm enough that it's a little strange on me. I realized after taking a picture with this lipstick that the light in the room was making everything look warmer than it actually was, so all of the pictures from here on out are in indirect daylight with no artificial lights added. This gray lipstick looks odd, but that's because it's an unexpected color for lips to be, not because it looks bad with my skin. I mean, maybe you think it does look bad, but it's a cool undertone, so it meshes with my coloring. Another grayish one, but this time it's a little more purple and also more sheer. Again, it's a strange color that you may or may not think is ugly, but at least it doesn't clash. This burnt red is a fairly popular shade from MAC. It's got strong fall vibes, but it also doesn't look quite right on me since it's fairly warm. Another MAC shade, this time more plummy and not as warm. It sort of looks like I used a grape popsicle as a lip stain. A classic, well-known shade. This is slightly warm, but not so much that it looks weird on me. Here's all of the shades so far swatched on my arm for comparison. For this picture, I have a warm-toned metallic pink on one side and a cool-toned metallic pink on the other. The warm-toned one looks a little out of place, right? Another 2-in-1. The color on the left half of my lips is noticeably warmer than the color on the right half, and it doesn't look quite as good on me. The color on the right is actually a little bit warm too, but not as much. This is a bit of a trick question because neither really looks that great. The color on the left half is too warm, and the color on the right half is cool-toned but also lighter than my lips are, so it still looks a little funny on its own. Honestly, it looks better than normal here because my lips are getting stained by all of this. These colors are both pretty corally, but when you put them next to each other, it's clear that the NYX gloss is much less warm and orange than the Wet n Wild stain is. Here are the previous 3 pairs of lip products swatched on my arm, with the warmer colors still on the left. I apparently forgot to swatch the metallic pinks here. By this point in the process, my lips were rather stained and also hurting, so I gave them a break while I swatched the eyeshadows you saw earlier in the video. This hard candy lipstick is the one that I was wearing in my recent video about drugstore makeup. Even without the Fenty right next to it, the color has a strong cool undertone. Since the Fenty one is a bit warm, the hard candy one looks almost blue in comparison. The undertone here is cool, so that works. It still looks a little odd because of how light it is. My natural lips are darker than this, but the strange color also helps my lips be visible despite being so lightened. This is a very weird one. Some people would argue that metallic turquoise lipstick doesn't look good on any human. For those people, I say, you're watching the wrong YouTube channel. This blue seems fairly neutral to me, and I think it looks awesome. Did someone ask for more metallic blue? Probably not, but here we are anyway. This one is darker and very cool-toned, almost purpley. It looks a bit uneven because I applied some lip balm after taking off the last color to help my poor lips survive to the end of this. Patchiness aside, I think this lipstick is beautiful on me. There's a hint of the previous lipstick still visible underneath this one, so my apologies for that. This lipstick on its own is a warm purple that almost borders on fuchsia. It's not a great color on me. I bought this lipstick when I was fairly new at wearing makeup, and I remember thinking that it looked a little weird on me. I couldn't quite put my finger on it until much later when I realized it has a warm undertone. It still looks alright, it's just not the most flattering pink for me. This gloss is sheer enough that you can kind of see that the 2 sides of my lips are staged differently. It has a cool undertone and is almost too light to look normal, but it works on its own. Here are those 2 greens next to each other and all of the colors that followed. The cool-toned green is catching the light strangely, and its shimmer is making it look way more teal than it actually is. I'm not a trained makeup artist or any kind of artist, but I think everything that I've said here is right. Please comment with corrections if anything that I said was stupid. The important thing to remember is that makeup is supposed to be fun and personal and expressive. Even if you're wearing mismatched colors that clash with each other or with your skin tone, if you look and act like you know what you're doing and did that look on purpose, then people will probably believe it. The key to pulling off a bold or unusual look is just to own it. If you act like there's nothing weird about what you've done with your face, then other people probably won't question it as much. They might still question it a little bit depending on what you've done, but confidence or fake confidence helps. Also, remember that most people don't really pay that much attention to the makeup that other people are wearing. There are some people like me who will definitely look over and try to sneak glances while you weren't looking, but most people just don't care. You pay attention to your own makeup a lot more than anybody else probably will. If you have questions about anything from this video or a request for me, then leave them in the comments and I'll do what I can to help. Stay safe and remember that this pandemic is not over just because you're feeling over it.